Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. The EZA LR Gobros is finally on global. They are rainbowed. We have them at level 10 links. We also have them on a 200% lead. Actually, to be fair, 3 or 4, is it? 1, 2, yeah, 3 of the units that they fit on their 200% lead of are on this team, which of course the Year 7 Gods, Fizz Godku, and also Beastless Gohan. Now, I remember using these like 6 or so months ago, rainbowed level 10 links before they got their EZA, and they were still packing some heat. So I'm expecting pretty much more of the same right now, but obviously kind of updated and performing a little bit better. So right now, with all in the family, Super Saiyan, Golden Warrior, Fierce Battle active, we will eventually get Kamehameha and Legendary Power active once we do pick up some orbs. But we are starting turn 1 with a 460k attack stat, which is pretty good considering they do stack attack, and 266k defense, which isn't too bad. So let's pick up some orbs. The only thing right now, of course, they will need to build up their passive. So right now we are going to struggle for some 18 key supers, which we don't really miss out on too much because their SA effects on both 12 and 18 key are the exact same thing, which is a 50% attack raise by stacking and then 30% on the defense for the turn. And that's the exact same for both. The only thing we miss out on is some damage. 4.96 on a turn 1 no build up super. Pretty nice. Immediately jumping up to, what was that, 5.6? We couldn't get the triple though. They do start with 158% attack and defense. They'll launch an additional attack that's a 50% chance of becoming a super attack, then gain an additional key +1 per type keys for obtained, which is, of course, while they're building up their passive, is meant to help them, you know, more consistently get the 18 key, which it's okay. You know, I'm not saying they have key problems. It's just they need to build up before, you know, the 18 key becomes a consistency. They then also get key +1 up to 5, and then an additional attack and defense up to 10%. By 10% up to 100% of each type performed. See, that's not too bad because they do have 2 outlets of additionals in their passive. They have one just built in, which is a 50% chance of an additional super. Then the second one, which is also a 50% chance they'll get if there's a Goku attacking in the same turn. Which, to be fair, really isn't difficult when you consider all the good Goku units from Birdku, who we've brought, Fizz Godku, any Goku and Vegeta unit. There's also the likes of 23rd World Tournament Goku. There's also Z Carnival Goku. There's tons of Gokus, so getting that additional attack and defense plus 59% and the additional is incredibly easy, which you're going to want, but again, it's not difficult to get whatsoever. But off of 2 supers, they're already up to just under a 600k attack stat. We're on 288k defense. One thing I was thinking about their EZA is how good, when I initially saw it on JP, and how fun it looked to use and how strong they are. One thing I was thinking when I saw in the news that we were going to be getting Turles next was, have they dropped at kind of a bad time? And the reason why I say that was because, of course, when they dropped on JP, we were nowhere near worldwide at this point. You know, there was no, you know, we had the difficult content that we had, which, by the way, we're already on a 10 mil attack stat on the 18 key super. So one turn of kind of, you know, slight key issues, and then second turn immediately we're back. I mean, we did get a ton of key spheres, but again, that's from building up their passive. But on JP, when they originally dropped, the hardest piece of content, I'm pretty sure, in the game was Shadow Dragon Sin, who, don't get me wrong, he's still difficult because he hits so hard so quickly. But there was no Shadow Dragon Omega. There was no Dismal Future Edition of Red Zone, which has kind of gone down that extreme short content path of, okay, there's 2 phases, you're done by turn 5 or turn 6. If you have units that need to build up, they need to build up quickly. You know, ZAMASU's doing 500k's on AoEs, which are typically in slot 1, 500k on basics. He can do like 1.3 million, 1.2 million immediately on a super, which is like 400k more than Sin does when they initially dropped on JP. And then they're doing like he's doing 1.6, 1.8 million on a super. Actually, I think it might be 1.7 in between. You know, when you get to the Fizz phase. So while they are still very good and very, very strong, like they have really good damage output, I think defensively, they've released at a bad time, because when they released on JP, I mean, they're still solid defensively, but because of how, you know, because of the global timeline of when our stuff drops, because we've now got this big shift in you know, power scaling, it's kind of pulled them back a bit in terms of how good they are when releasing on global. Like right now, we have 311k defense. That can only handle so many basics in the game, and none of them are the new ones, even after the 30% defense raise. Now, bear in mind, they're not fully built up. That's where their passive comes in. You have to super attack a total, or attack 10 times in total, before that 100% attack and defense kicks in, which the two additionals, which again, the one with Goku, really easy to get. You're not really restricted whatsoever. It's easy to get the two additionals, so that's three attacks, 3 potential subs in one turn, which is great. But 10 attacks? This is what I'm saying, their release on global, the timing on global is really against them. Because ZAMASU, as I said, you're taking 500k on basics, 500k on AoEs, getting hit by 1.2, 1.3 million supers from the get-go, and just to add like salt into the wounds, ZAMASU is an int type unit, whereas these guys are tech. But that's neither here nor there. Even if it was type neutral, these guys need to super attack, or attack in general, 10 whole times before they get that extra 100% attack and defense. Now, is it as bad as it was before their EZA? No, because as I said, they've got 2 additionals built in, and your initial super attack they're going to be doing anyway. I said, a lot of the fights, they're ending on turn 5, potentially turn 6 at a push, but they might not be on that turn when you get to turn 6, and you're about to end the event anyway. So I do think the performing 10 attacks is a little bit excessive. It's better than it was, but I do think because of the route we've gone down with content, you know, maybe, and again, we say this all the time, maybe there's some longer, not long form, but slightly longer content on the horizon. But I feel like, even though it's better than it was, it's not really suited with the kind of path we've gone down with really extreme short form content that hits really, really hard. But at least it's not as bad as it was. So that is one thing that is a little bit kind of techie with their kit. And it also would have been nice if maybe on 18 key they did raise their defense by like 50% rather than 30 on both, just to bulk them up a bit. But again, with things kind of shifting and rearranging on global, and us getting things, you know, at certain points, that's not really their fault. I wouldn't say their kit's bad because of that. It's just unfortunate timing for them, really, that they got put after worldwide rather than before. But they also get an additional attack plus 59% when activating their active skill, or when key is 24, which by the time you've got your key built up to 5, and then the key plus 1 per type keys for obtained is a little bit more easier to obtain, a little bit more consistent. So you do get the extra attack plus 59%, so you're maximizing your damage with them. I do think a little bit of key at the start of turn would have helped them out a lot, especially the first couple turns while you're building up their passive. Like, I don't take anywhere near as long to build up that key plus 5 compared to the 100% attack and defense. But I do feel like maybe like 2-3 key at the start of turn would have been good as well. So you don't really have any awkward moments where you may not be able to get their 18 key super off, so you're missing out on some damage. But that is just my opinion. But we are up to 873k attacks, that 355k defense. Again, they're not fully built up. But are you seeing what I'm saying with their release? Like, don't get me wrong, defensively, they weren't anything insane. It's not they have a million defense, right? You know, they do have the potential to raise their defense by 30% 3 times in one turn, 4 if you have dupes. Which, considering they were a unit in 2019, I'm sure a lot of you probably have 1 or 2. So defensively, they are quite solid, but again, because of the pathway we've gone down with how extremely short and hard-hitting the content is with ZAMASU, it's just unfortunately not quite enough. Now, I'm not saying they need to have over a million defense there. Their EZA is terrible because, again, these guys were released before we even got that. And again, it's just unfortunate timing. But because of the pathway we're going down, waiting for 10 attacks to be performed and events ending on turn 5 on turn 6, it's just a little bit too quick for them. You know, if you get extremely lucky and do four attacks in one turn with the potential system and all those kind of things, and you manage to do that every turn he appears, great, you can build him up pretty much by what, turn... Actually, the quickest you'll be able to get him fully built up is probably turn 5, which on some cases, that's when the event is ending. So even then, as I said, because of the pathway we're going down, it just takes a little bit too long to build them up. Now, because they are a bit more of an offensive focus unit for doing big numbers, I mean, they were doing 10 mil literally on their second appearance. I don't need them to have millions and millions of defense because that's not what they're made for. They are still quite solid, and considering they're nowhere near fully built up on their passive and the amount of times they can super attack and raise their defense by 30%, they're still in a solid spot. You know, they'll still be able to tank basics from probably every enemy in the game, maybe besides ZAMASU's Fizz phase, where he's doing 700k, but it's not like you're going to take hundreds and hundreds of thousands of damage from his basic, but his super attack will probably most likely, definitely, one-shot them, unfortunately. Everyone else, I feel like they'll be fairly okay. You know, they'll be able to survive a super. Yeah, they might take 300k worth of damage, but we have teams with 700k to 800k HP in the game right now, so it's not too bad. I mean, with All in the Family, we do have 426k defense, which is actually quite nice. But I'm pretty sure they're not even anywhere being built up, and we're on turn 9 right now. To be fair, that is because we've kind of had like 2-3 turns where they haven't got to super attack, or we haven't managed to get an additional win. But this is what it's going to be like. 12.4 is really nice though. But this is what it's going to be like on a lot of the content because it is so short and extremely difficult and extremely hard hitting. So while they are clearly a lot of fun to use and they can do a ton of damage, like they are extremely strong, that's 3 to 4 super attacks potentially that are doing 12 plus million and then 9-10 million on a 12 key. So they can tank fairly well before worldwide. They can still hit really hard. Like the amount of damage they can do in one turn while continuously stacking is dangerous. Like it is dangerous. But while they're a lot of fun to use, while they're really, really strong, I think defensively, because of the timing on global coming after worldwide, they're gonna be a little bit weaker in the defensive department, and they probably kind of released a little bit of a bad time, you know, just because of where we've gone down with difficult content. But other than that, as I said, I'm pretty sure they weren't even built up, but that's most likely going to happen when you take them into difficult content nowadays. That's just what happens. Turn 5, turn 6, push is when the events are ending. But they can do a ton of damage. They do hit really hard. Once they do get going, they can defend pretty well. But yeah, I think it's just bad timing. Of course, they do have their active skill as well, where they're massive raising attack, causing ultimate damage to the enemy. Their active skill condition is actually pretty nice. You know, one enemy from turn 3, HP 59% or less, which isn't too bad, which we weren't really going to get there. But they are very strong. They are very strong. It's just, I think it's unfortunate timing of when they've dropped. So they are going to be a little bit lacking defensively. But you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Of course, we are going to take them into difficult content and see how they perform there. But do let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a good rest of your day, and peace.